Hello, I'm Buck Saru. I'm the author of Combat Patrol World War II. I've done a number of demonstration videos for the rules. The first one I did described in a fair amount of detail how combat resolution and movement were conducted using these cards from the action decks rather than a bunch of dice and charts. In this video I'm going to demonstrate anti-tank fire. So the scenario I'll be using will be a bazooka team firing at the side of this Panzer IV. Now I'm going to do the same shot over and over again, showing the difference between misses and hits and penetrating hits and non-penetrating hits. The purpose of this video is not to talk through activation or turn sequences or other aspects of the rules. I'm focusing for this particular demonstration just on having this bazooka team fire on the side of this Panzer IV so you can get an idea of how quick and easy anti-tank fire is to resolve in combat patrol. So the general situation for this demonstration is that I've got a bazooka team as part of this squad, and they're firing out of the woods at this Panzer IV. Now the range is over 12 inches. Short range for a bazooka, according to these cards, is 12 inches. So that means that I'm firing at medium range. So we're going to take 5 shots. And remember, we're at medium range. So for the first shot, we flip a card. And the unit is regular. So normally it would be looking for a bullet hole in the second sort of column over, right, over the R. But because we're at medium range, we move one to the right. And so I need at least 3 bullet holes in order to get a hit. In this case, I got a miss. So in my first example of firing at a tank, right, the bazooka fires and he just gets a miss. Now the second shot. With the second shot, I flip a card and all the bullet holes are filled in. So that's obviously a hit. So the next step, when you flip over a vehicle card, you look at the back, it's got the whole sequence. But the next step is to draw for hit location. So I flip this card over, and it says that I hit the turret. The next step I'm going to make is to roll to see if the weapon penetrates. Now, looking at the turret side for this particular vehicle, this tells me that his defense factor, his defense is a 7. His armor is a 7. And my penetration at medium range is a 10. Now 10 is greater than 7, so that should be a penetrate. But there's always a chance for a miss. And so a 1 is always a fail on a penetration roll. So let's flip this card over, right? I'm looking for anything but a 1, and of course I rolled a 1. So I hit the turret, but I didn't penetrate. So now I have to go back to that last card, the one that showed me the hit location, and I look underneath the vehicle here, there's some text, and in this case it says, all crew are stunned. So even though the hit didn't penetrate, right, the round clanged against the side of the tank and everybody's sort of stunned. And so I would put a stun marker on this tank because in its next activation all it can do is remove the stun. So they're a little bit, you know, we rang their bell, but we didn't do any real damage. All right, so now we're going to flip the next card. Yeah, so if we go back to the sequence here, we had a non-penetrating hit, so I'm going to draw to see if a random crewman is wounded or affected somehow by that hit. So I flipped this card, and what I was looking for, according to the sequence here, is I was looking for a small explosion here in the HE explosion area. I didn't get that, so none of the crew are damaged. All right, now let's go on to the third shot. So in the third shot, again, I'm looking for 3 bullet holes, and I get 3 bullet holes. Right? So the next step is what? I need to draw for hit location. So I get the body. Now the armor on the side of the body of this tank, so here's the body, the side is a 6. So again, my penetration number is greater than that. So I'm going to penetrate on anything but a 1. I flipped the card over, I got a 2. Well, that's not a 1, so I actually penetrate. So the next step is to see if the vehicle brews up. And what I'm looking for in that case is a large explosion icon on the next card. So the next card comes up and it does not have that large explosion icon. Right? So I didn't penetrate. So I penetrated, but I didn't brew the vehicle up. So I go to this section of the card, and it says look at the hit location for effects. So I go back over here to the one that told me where the hit location was. There's no text underneath this card to give me any additional effects, so it's not going to damage the vehicle. But it did penetrate. So now it says draw a card for each crewman and determine if they're wounded or affected somehow. So I've made up these little cards that you can download from the rules website that have different crew configurations and how they would be organized in the vehicle. And I find that this makes it pretty easy in order when they have things like find a crewman or all crewmen or whatever to do that. And I can put the markers, the wound or stun markers, directly on these little circles on the card rather than laying them all over the vehicle or some other. So it's a nice way to do some record keeping, and they're downloadable off the website. So now I have 5 crewmen, and I'll sort of go in this order: driver, radio operator / bow machine gunner, loader, gunner, commander. I'll go in that order, and I'm gonna so for each crewman I'm gonna look for a small explosion. So for the first one, the driver, I got a small explosion. So now what happened to the driver? He's wounded, and the effects of that are just the same as infantrymen in the woods, right? Alright, so I did the driver, the bow machine gunner, no small explosion, so no damage to him. The loader, again, no small explosion, no damage to him. The gunner, no small explosion, no damage to him. I've got one person left, I believe, is the commander. I flipped this card over, no damage to him. So penetrating hit, I wounded the driver, and not much else. So it was a penetrating hit, but not very rewarding or not very satisfying. All right, now let's take a 4th shot. So in the 4th shot, I get a hit. Right, I needed 3 bullet holes filled in. I didn't get one. I did get one in the 3rd hole, so I get a hit. I flip the next card over for hit location. Again, I hit the body side. Recall that the armor there is a 6. My penetration is a 10, so I'm looking for something greater than a 1 on this card. I get a 10, so that's good. I get a hit. Right, so now let's see if the vehicle brews up. I get a large explosion finally, and the vehicle brews up. Alright, so the vehicle's obviously destroyed, but what happens to the crew? So what the card says is I'm going to draw a card for each crewman, and if the crewman is hit, I'm going to draw for the effect. So first we're going to do that driver again. I did not get a large explosion, so he didn't get wounded again this time. Now the bow machine gunner, he did get something did happen to the bow machine gunner because I got that large explosion icon. I flipped this card over, he's wounded. So now the bow machine gunner is wounded. Loader, nothing happened to him. The gunner, I got a large explosion icon for the gunner, so what happened to him? He's wounded. And now the commander, I get a large explosion icon for the commander, and I flip this guy over, and he's also wounded. And then it says that all the survivors bail out, and they're stunned. So I would put crewmen around the vehicle, and the vehicle's destroyed, and I would put some kind of smoke or something on them that would be satisfying and fun. Alright, so I walked you through in the previous 4 examples, I walked you through the sequence on these cards, right? And showed you the interaction between penetration. Now let me sort of show you how it works at gaming speeds. Alright, so I get a hit. I hit the tracks. I penetrate. The vehicle brews up. I roll for, so the vehicle's destroyed. The driver is incapacitated. The bow machine gunner is hit, and he is also incapacitated. The loader is hit, and he is incapacitated. The gunner is not hit, and the commander is not hit. And so the commander and the gunner, the only 2 crewmen who are still alive, would bail out and be placed behind the vehicle. So that's how fast you can resolve fire at a vehicle, whether it's from a bazooka or from another tank.